Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second live session. Guy's just finished with us, and we've got Mike Schlusser with us for a question and answer about compound. Now, before we start, I just want to say thank you to Roberto Hernandez, who was supposed to be here, but unfortunately, there's been a storm in El Salvador. So we wish him all the best. Hopefully, everything's okay there, and we'll crack on with Mikey here. So, hey, Mikey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, you know, man, it's sunny. That's it's life.
Yeah, good weather.
Absolutely. All of you out there, if you're watching, if you have any questions for Mike, feel free to send them in on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll pose them. The subject of today's conversation is really that X factor in compound archery. How do you advance to the next level, to the upper echelon of elite shooting? And who better to talk to us about it than the three-time world champion, Mr. Perfect. Mikey.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with a really, really deep question, and I'm going to change how this works. I'm going to ask you, when did you know that you were good at this sport?
I was quite on early in my compound career. I was shooting a competition in the Netherlands, and the current head coach of the junior team went to my to like a trainer from my area, and he told me like, "Hey, could you please take care of Mike because he has talent?" So I was about 11, 12, I think, about the time, maybe even younger. And from there on, like I worked really hard with that trainer for like a couple of years, and then from there on, I went to the Dutch team, the junior team, and from there on, I just progressed into my archery career.
And how much of how you shoot now is pure talent, and how much has it been the work that you've put in across the way?
I'm pretty sure like it's about, I don't know, like I think I have fairly like above average talent because I don't need to practice as much as some other people do. And I think I still put like 4 or 5 hours a day in normally, and it's still a lot of work, I think, as well.
And when you say practice and you say 4 or 5 hours work, what does that look like?
Normally it's mainly just shooting my bow, and I do also some gym and some mental exercising.
And what's that mental exercise? We've talked a lot today about psychology and visualization and a role that plays.
It depends on what state of my my season I'm in. If it's my competition season, I try to visualize the archery venues where I'm shooting at. For example, if I like most of the venues I've been to already a couple of times, so I know how they look. So if I'm, for example, like if I'm have a World Cup in Medellin next year, I will be visualizing where the qualification will be shot or where the finals venue will be, and I'll just shoot like a qualification already in my mind, kind of. And from there on, I just try to like already ease into the competition, kind of.
And can you see a difference when you do that visualization and when you don't in terms of your performance when you get to the competition?
Sometimes, most of the times, just it's in the beginning of a competition, you're always a little bit nervous. It doesn't matter if it's qualification or elimination. In the beginning, you always ramp up a bit of the nerves, and eventually it slows down a bit. If I feel like when I do visualization, the curve of nerves to normal is less of a like a steep line, kind of.
And talk about those nerves and how they impact you when you're shooting.
Generally, like I need some nerves to perform because if I normally shoot in practice, it's not that good. If I go to qualification in tournaments, it's normally like 5 to 10 points higher than I do at home.
Really? So you're shooting a lot less in practice?
Oh yeah.
Do you think that's normal for archers?
I don't think that's normal, but I know a lot of people have it. Like some people shoot better in practice qualifications than they do in World Cups or like in competitions. But I know there are also people that shoot higher qualification scores in competitions.
And what is it about you, do you think, that makes that happen? Why is it that the nerves help you perform?
I generally lose focus when I'm just practicing. So for me, like when I'm practicing like all day long, like it doesn't, at the end, it doesn't, the only thing that I'm practicing is my strength, not my shooting ability. So my problem is when I'm just practicing at home or like at the club or whatever, I lose my focus a bit and my concentration, and that I don't have during competition because of those nerves.
Is there something you can improve about how you practice, do you think?
I that's how I've been practicing like the last like 2 3 years, and I just been practicing like short blocks instead of all day long. So I'd make like blocks of an hour and a half, and then just like a break, and it depends, and then I can focus again.
Do you think that's the best way to practice? Have you thought about other ways? Or?
For me, it's definitely the best. I've tried everything. I tried from like 5 6 hours straight to just blocks of an hour and a half, and even blocks of just shoot like an hour or two. And for me, like if I shoot practice for indoors, I don't shoot that much arrows at all. Like I maybe shoot 120 arrows, 150, but they're all focused. So I normally like when I practice my indoor routine, it's like 2 practice ends, so 6 practice arrows, and from there on I start scoring, and until normally like 4 or 5 30 arrows qualifications.
Has your understanding of how you practice and how that relates to competition progressed over the course of your career so far?
Definitely, definitely. In the beginning, I was just shooting my arrows. I didn't do anything. I just shot my arrows, and in my mind, I needed to shoot like as much arrows as I could. And in the beginning, I was like, I went up my qualification, like my scoring capacity went up, but eventually it went down again, and I was like, why? Like, why is it happening? You know, like I felt that my technique didn't go as good as I wanted to be, and it was all going down. And I tried to change my training schedule, and from like just practice the thing time that I could focus kind of. And from there on, I went up again. So I just try to like keep as focused as possible.
When you look at other archers and other archers that are on the line with you and other people you compete with, are there any things you've learned from others that you think are great and that you've kind of integrated into your own routines and your own practice?
Especially like trying to get better in my equipment. I learned that from Peter Elzinger. And in my younger years, we trained a lot, and he helped me a lot in competitions and outside the competitions as well. So he learned me a lot of things, like how to trust my equipment and take care of my equipment. So there's like he learned me to set up two good bows, because you never know when you need it. Like I haven't needed it yet so far, but you never know. So I like if I have a equipment failure, um, I just grab my second bow without even hesitating to trust it.
So a lot of the compound community, a lot of that learning comes from other archers rather than coaches per se. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that, because even though like most of us compound archers are never afraid to tell our secrets, kind of, you know, like we don't have that much secrets in how to tune a bow or how to shoot their technique or whatever. Like we all share our stuff, our equipment as well. So for example, I had like when I shot my 600, I was really close to Peter back then, and I gave him my arrows and like, hey, just give this a try, and he tried them, and he's been shooting those arrows since, like the same setup and stuff like that.
Do you think everybody and everyone trying to shoot compound at a high level has the right routine, or has that set up around them, that kind of structure in order to maximize their ability?
I don't think that. No, I think it's really difficult to find that setup, and you need to have a lot of experience as well, and also a lot of people around you that can help you to reach that.
Do you think there's a gap for compound coaches and compound trainers who can really maximize somebody?
I think there's definitely a gap, because a lot of countries don't have the funding for the compound teams. So a lot of compound teams around the world are just archers. So even the coaches are just volunteer archers, kind of.
Have you seen any countries that have had a coach, and have you seen the impact of that in your travels?
Yeah, like for example, like France has a really well program, and they always have a really like a team that's always there for medals, and you can see it with the US as well. Like they're also like some financing there, and you can see they're always fighting for medals as well. And we are lucky, because Marcel, our coach, he's a volunteer, but he is a really well, like he knows a lot about archery, because he's been self an archer as well, and he knows how to coach. So that's something that we are lucky with.
So you'd say that, you know, even though the compound coaches aren't a prevalent thing, and it's more archer-led, compound coaches are important, are very important in
for sure.
of archers.
For sure, I think that's for sure.
And what value do you get from having that coach? What is necessary?
So like for example, like it's really difficult to feel a mistake that like slips into your routine or in your technique. It's really difficult because it happens like 1% by 1% over like a year time, and it's really difficult to see or to feel that difference when you're shooting every single day. But for example, a coach that you see like 2 or 3 times a week, it's easy to spot because it's the same thing. Like it's a stupid example, but we have a puppy now, and it's really difficult to see it grow because we see it every single day, all day long. But for example, my parents, I see it like 2 or 3 times or a week, and they always hear like, "Whoa, he grew," you know. But for us, it's really difficult to see that because we're all day with him.
It's quite a good analogy because actually, as an archer, you grow as well and you change, and that's part of
You
life.
change exactly, and it's really difficult if you're in your own system to feel those differences. While a coach that you don't see every single day or every single minute, those they can see the technique mistakes slipping into your technique.
So in terms of growing and in terms of expanding your technique and developing it, how would you say your technique and your approach to archery has developed over the years you've been doing it?
I think my technique has been kind of similar for the last 5, 6 years. I haven't changed anything drastically to it. I just like worked really hard on my mental part because that's something where I needed to grow in, and I really did as well.
So you say you worked really hard. Can you explain what work you put in, how much work you put in, and where you're seeing the impacts?
For me, like especially on the finals venues, that's where I always struggled, and there's where I put my work in, and like I went with some mental coaches, and they helped me around to like to stop thinking about the award after, but just live the moment, kind of enjoy the moment.
Are there any specific exercises or activities or things you did to try and develop that?
Like I tried out a lot of things, but for me the most important thing was visualization, just to get me into it.
And how did that visualization work? What kind of process did you go through to do that?
It's something super simple. Like I just before I go to sleep, I like think about like I try to picture the finals venue or the qualification venue, and like every day is like a little bit different. Like every day I try to approach it a bit different, and from there on just like that.
So some archers and we've just had a talk from Guy who's going to give a scientific model, and I can see that the more kind of relaxed archer out there is looking at that scientific model and that all-in approach and thinking that's a bit too much for me. So I find it very interesting that you have done it quite casually, almost in the evening before bedtime.
It's just like you can like I know like a lot of people really like work like hours on that, but for me this is just the easiest way for me to do it because I'm not a person that can concentrate, or like for example like my homework, like I only could focus like half an hour, 45 minutes, and then it went sloppy. So if I do like those exercises for like a really long period of time, it's not working for me. So I know that for me it needs to be something short and simple.
So instead of spending hours of it and making it a chore, you've integrated it into your daily routine almost.
Yeah, indeed.
So when you're competing internationally, can you see archers that you think will be good? Can you identify the qualities of a good archer or an excellent?
You mean technique or like just winning tournaments?
Winning. All comes down to winning.
No, I don't think so because it's really difficult to see that because we have like the top of the compound archers are so close to each other. Like it's really difficult. Like sometimes like it comes down to a little bit of luck as well. So it's really, for me, it's really difficult to see. Like you can always see like if a person shoots like high scores, but you never know if he's going to win the end.
And that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a different thing.
And what are the two qualities? What are the differences between someone who will shoot high scores and someone that will win something?
I think like you can like kind of, I don't know, it's a really difficult one, but I think it's mainly like almost to intimidate your opponent, like because you're so confident in yourself. Like if you showed like so much confidence in yourself, like the other person is going to doubt himself, like, oh, what's the way to win from this guy, and then they start making mistakes.
So it's doubt in someone that makes them lose rather than anything else.
I think that's the biggest reason why people lose. I think it's because they doubt in themselves or they doubt in their ability to shoot.
Are there archers or are there situations that make you doubt in yourself still?
For example, how was that in my finals and like I started doubting myself, like why I'm not shooting good and stuff like that, and instead of just enjoying the moment.
Do you enjoy the moment now?
Oh yeah, I like in beginning when I still had the issues, I was always like not really feeling like shooting finals, but now I'm really start enjoying it.
And what is it about that situation that you enjoy?
It's just a thrill. Like it's like, why do people skydive? Like why do people do certain things? Like it's just a thrill. I think it just gives you like a rush, and you cannot describe it. I think, but it's just something that keeps you going, kind of.
Have you always had that, or is that something you've learned?
I think it's something that I learned to accept and learn to appreciate.
So, given all those situations you've been in the in the international competitions, those ones that you perhaps enjoyed and the ones that you haven't enjoyed, what have you learned from each of those experiences, and how do you take that on board and evaluate and improve yourself?
You just need to main thing is like you need to do it for yourself, kind of, not for like somebody else to please some other people, kind of, because there are always going to be people that are going to be they're always trying to bring you down, like no matter what. So, like if you like win with a 150, there's still people that criticize like, oh, you shot one on the line, like there are always people that are criticizing everything, and that's something that you need to accept, to just leave behind you, because if you really go into those kind of comments, then that really brings you down.
Do you think that's something that's quite prevalent in archery because of the instant feedback of shooting the target? You always see where an arrow lands.
Yeah, I think that's something definitely, like for example, I think that's really, it's way easier to do than in smaller sports, I think.
So when you're developing your technique, when you're growing as an archer, how do you know when things are right for you? How can you said you don't shoot that high scores in practice, so you're only in competition, you're testing stuff. How do you know you're progressing, and how do you know which direction to take?
Like even though like I'm not shooting the same scores in practice than qualification, like than competitions, but still like there's still like a difference between a good score and a bad score. So for example, like if I shoot normally a qualification at 708 in practice, and I shoot a 712, I know I have a 4-point improvement, kind of. While those 4 points can be also in competitions.
And you said before that there's a difference between shooting high scores and winning. So improving these scores, are they good indicators that you're going to win more or not?
I always see like high scores is something, but like being consistent is my most, like that's where I'm always trying to look for, because you can always shoot one high score, but like or win just be good at one tournament. But you always try to be really good at all the tournaments, because you want to, you kind of want to win them all.
When you're practicing and when you're at a certain score level, for example, this question's come up on the stream. Someone's at 695 and they want to break the 700. Is it a problem to be thinking about that mark, or how do you approach that situation?
You just need to like the 700 is like it's a magical line, because it's a 700. It's the same as the 1400 at the FITA. It's a magical line. It's not everybody can reach that, and you just need to try to focus on yourself and making good shots, not to focus on the 700, like the focus on the score, kind of. Just try to make good shots.
And you say make good shots. How do you evaluate a good shot if it's not what it hits in the target?
It's like a feeling, like mostly like you can make not like 100% great shot, but if it gives you a good feeling, then you know it's a good shot.
And what is that feeling? Try to describe that feeling for me. Visualize, Michael. Visualize me a good
visualize. Just like when you like draw back your bow, you almost instantly can feel if it's going to be a good shot or not. Like if you feel like if you like draw back and you instantly hit the middle with your dot in your scope, it just has a good feeling, and then you just start executing like a slow and well designed shot, and then it's always going to be landing in the middle.
Does it go in slow motion for you when you're shooting well?
I don't think it goes in slow motion, but it makes it really easy. Like when I'm on point, I don't need to think about anything in my shooting. I just draw back my bow and just keep on aiming in the middle, and then from there it on goes. Like I don't need to think about pressure in my back or keep like have tension in my hands or nothing. I just need to focus on holding my pin in the middle of the target, and that's it.
And is there anything you can do to make that a reality quicker or easier? How do you prepare yourself? Because
Just shoot a lot of practice hours, because I think that's something that comes eventually, because yeah, it's just I've shot so many hours in my life already that it's just like a routine, like a muscle memory kind of.
See, I think you're describing flow, which is a psychological state athletes get into when they can kick ass, basically. Do you recognize that you get into this kind of state of above normal?
Yeah, definitely. Like even before you even start shooting, like some competitions are like, like, oh, this is gonna be the one, like you're practicing being good and you feel confident and you're feeling healthy as well. Like for example, like if you're at a competition and you have like a cold or whatever, like that sometimes it's really difficult to get in that flow because you're not 100%, and that's like a mental block, and you feel like it, or your preparation was 100%, or you're not feeling 100%. It's really difficult to get in that flow because you know that you're not at your best, but you still need to try to make the best out of it.
And when you're in that flow, does it matter who you're shooting against? Does it matter where you're shooting?
I'm trying to focus on not who am I shooting, but just try to keep my best. Like it doesn't matter for me against who am I shooting. I just want to shoot the best I can, and if that's going to be against, for example, Rio Wild or like some local guy from the club, like I still want to shoot the best I can.
So we're going to put on a hat now that's Coach Mike, right? You've got your young compound archer. He's about a 685 level, and you want to improve him to the next level. What kind of training plan, what kind of advice and evaluation are you going to give to that young man?
I mostly see like at the local club archers here in this region. I see the most people that are struggling is with strength. They're just not strong enough to make a good shot. And I would say just go to the gym, hit the gym 2 or 3 times a week, just to get stronger, or like do some physical exercises at home. Because most of those people, they're just not strong enough to being able to make a 100% good shot. And that's something that I can see here. And or you need to shoot like a lot of arrows as well, just to get strength in to make a 100% good shot.
So you say you shoot a lot of arrows and that's your practice, but I don't think you shoot a lot of arrows as in technique practice. I think you shoot to maintain your level and your strength and your ability, not all just scoring.
No, correct.
And is there a difference between the arrows you're shooting for score and the arrows you're shooting for your strength?
Normally when I shoot my arrows for strength, sometimes it's normally only do it at outdoors, because indoors is not that, like it's always like short competition, so you need to have that much strength. But like World Cups take like normally 6 or 7 days, so you need to be strong for like 6 or 7 days, and windy conditions and everything. And I normally shoot them just like a higher volume of arrows per end.
How many arrows are we talking?
About, sometimes when I'm scoring, it's normally just 6 arrows, and when I'm shooting for strength, it's between 9 and 12.
And how many ends in a day? How much strength training are you doing, and how much are you thinking about where the arrows land?
About, I would say about 250 to 300 hours a day, maybe.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, but like it's my job, so I like start in the morning and then just end in the evening, and then I shot my arrows and try to focus as much as I can on good shots.
So let's relate this back to our young man we're coaching. He shoots a couple of days a week, and he shoots a 70-meter head-to-head round at the weekend. How strong does he need to be to shoot at his best for that whole round?
It's also like depending, of course. Like you have like a little kid that needs more strength than like an adult, But it just need to be like strong enough, and I think that's really individual. Like you cannot say like generalize like, oh, if you do 200 push-ups in a week, that's enough, Like it's really, I think it's really difficult to say for me from like not knowing about which person I'm talking about.
So how do you know when you're not strong enough? What's the feeling when you're not strong enough?
Just generally shaking into shots, like you can see like that they're just not strong enough to keep the bow in the middle, kind of, and it normally ends up with like just like throwing the bow kind of left or right because you're not in the middle, and then you just want to have the middle kind of.
So you're saying if you can't keep focus for the entirety of a round, for the entirety of a competition, then you're not strong enough.
Yeah, exactly. And normally it starts with, if you start like scoring, that you score really high and then goes down. That's the quickest way to find out that you're just not strong enough in for shooting.
Do you think this applies to recurve archery as well?
I think for them it's even more important because it's physically more intensive than for us compounders, I think, because we just draw back the bow and from there on you start aiming, and they always need to draw back the bow, and like at the max they let it go. It's kind of difficult. So I think that for us compounders it's less critical than for recurvers because of the way the shooting is.
So I like how you talk about your practice. It's very relaxed. You shoot 250, 300 hours a day, a lot for strength, and you do 10 minutes of mental exercise a day. But I don't think you quite realize how much structure you've got in your day because it's so normal to you. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. And especially like for me, it was really difficult now. Like everything stopped for us. So now we're like, for the first time in years, I've been just enjoying life now because it was such a routine, and like it's like couple days at home, competition, couple days at home, practicing all day long, go to competitions. And now we've just been at home and just enjoying life kind of a little bit,
And that's hard.
It was really difficult for me to accept in the beginning. Like I was really, I lost all my motivation because I was like, what am I doing? What is this feeling and stuff like that. But now I accepted it a little bit and I really enjoy it.
So going back to our archer, she's now a 50-year-old female compound called Wynette, who's messaged us on Facebook, and she shoots a 9 to 5 job. How much practically do you think you can practice, and how much can you optimize practice around a day job that's not archery?
Like it's really like getting some practice in is super easy because you can get some elastic bands and just practice in front of the mirror. It's maybe sounds really stupid, but if you go practice like every day, like half an hour, just draw back the rubber band and just shoot your bow. Kind of like if you think like kind of visualize shooting your bow, that's already practicing as well. Of course, it's not as effective as just really shooting your bow, but like if it's really difficult to find the time, you just need to find like some gimmicks to try to get more strength.
So replace those arrows with other exercises that might help.
Exactly.
And when you go to the gym, what are you doing in the gym?
When I was still at the training center in Papendal, we tried some different styles of gym exercises for me. It went from really basic core stability to like reservoir strength training. And I figured out that for me, a kind of CrossFit style of exercises was the best for me. So I do like not too heavy weight, but a lot of repetitive reps, and then just like that. And I found that was the best I've ever shot on. So I always did that.
And your bow is very heavy. You're famed for having a very heavy bow. So how much of your requirement for strength is because you put so much weight on your bow, and why?
I think definitely has something to do with that because it's really difficult to keep that amount of weight up and steady if you're not strong enough. So that's why I think I also need to put some more effort in strength than some other people need to do.
And why do you choose to go that direction?
It's kind of started as a joke, to be honest. Back then, Rio Wild Star I was just in my training center. I think it was 2011 or 10, I think. And I think it was chef Rick van Hoover told me like you cannot shoot that amount of weight. So I grabbed every single weight I had on my for my backup bow and my normal bow, and I put it on my stabilizers, kind of like the same as Rio Wild had, like setup. And I started shooting with it, and I was like, oh, this is really heavy. But I shot like my groups went like super small. They shrink like crazy, and I was like, wait. So from there on, I just tried to keep up, like put on some strength training and stuff like that for that. And from there on, I just started shooting, and it's always been my go-to because it's just my highest scoring setup.
Would you advise that to anybody else?
Definitely not, because if you don't keep on the strength training, or like I go like once or twice a week to the physiotherapist just to make sure that I don't get any injuries, because if you shoot that kind of bow, it's really like you're really um, the chances are really high that if you don't take care of it that you get an injury.
What are you worried about in terms of injury in particular?
Just the shoulder, like it's just put so much stress on your shoulder and your back because it's so heavy.
So when you're looking forward to future competitions, you've had this period of reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something you want to change about how you shoot or how you compete going forward?
I was talking about it like a couple days ago with Gabi, and I decided like I really enjoy being at home now. Like I was thinking to maybe like normally I went to all the competitions that were like if it was a local tournament here or like a tournament in the US, like I would go to all of them. And I think I was thinking that I'm just gonna be maybe focus a bit more on the more important tournaments than just everything, because I really like beginning was like I was just in a flow that I went from competition to competition, and I shot about 250 to 300 days a year. Like I was all day at the range if it was a competition or practicing at home, and I never really enjoyed life, kind of, you know, like I did my enjoyment was shooting my bow, and I figured out now that I also other things in life than just shooting my bow. So I'm gonna maybe like pick some more important tournaments over and skip some non-important tournaments.
Do you think that would require a heavier focus on planning and really strategizing what you're doing now that I know you've relaxed a little bit during this down period?
I think it definitely, because instead of just going to the mall, I just need to like really pick and choose my competitions that I think that's really important for me and that I really enjoy as well.
And how do you think about competition as a competitor? Is it arduous? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it, because most of those tournaments that you meet the same kind of people, like the same kind of people go to all those competitions, so that it's something that you and start enjoying as well, because you see all those people all the time, that you become friends, and you really like at the moment I really miss that at the moment, you know, like I miss being around my friends that I like, competitors that I really show as like I see as my friends.
And those relationships, do they help you perform better, do you think?
I think it makes definitely easier to travel, that's for sure. I'm not sure if it makes you a better archer, but it makes you enjoy those competitions.
Of all the archers you travel with and of all you've seen, have you learned anything specific off anyone you want to talk about?
In the beginning I learned a lot from Peter Elzinga, because he was already like a top athlete, and I was still like a rookie that just got into the scene, and I learned a lot from him on World Cups and European and World Championships. And from there on, and lately I've been like spending a lot of time with Ria and Chris Schaaf, and Chris Schaaf, and like we like learn from each other as well, with all those small things. But like you will still learn things.
So someone's commented that a couple of years ago you said the key to consistency was practicing, competing all the time as much as possible. Do you think you'll be able to retain consistency when you're not competing as much as possible?
Yeah, because like I'll still be shooting like 20 to 30 competitions a year, and this year, like last 2019, I calculated I was 250 days outside my house competing. So I was only like about 100 days at home or somewhere in the Netherlands. And if I go to like maybe like 175 days of competing, that's still half a year of competitions.
So talking back to our young man that we're coaching, shooting 685, which tournament should he be going to and how should he be progressing?
I always like, I don't see like there are a lot of difference between competitions. Like you need to have competitions where you have some competition, you know, like you can go to like a local tournament, but if you're the only archer that's there, then it doesn't make sense for you to kind of go to, you know. You need to go like to competitions where you have some competition as well, where you're maybe not going to be winning all the time, but like you need to like, if you have somebody to fight against, that will make you better.
Is winning winning, or is winning different competitions and against different people meaning different things to you?
Definitely, like if you know that like the top 10 art from the world archery ranking is there, then if you win a tournament and you know that you shot good and that you really were the best one at that moment, but if you win like a tournament that's only one from the top 10 there, then you're still like, yeah, that's different, like a different feeling kind of.
Do you remember when you were younger and you were looking up to people and you wanted to compete against the big boys?
Yeah, of course. Like there are always archers that you looked up to, and the first time shooting against them is always something special.
Any particular person or moment that you remember?
Let me think. I think it was 2010, the face-to-face in Amsterdam. 2010. I shot against Dave Cousins, but back then I just came into the scene, and for me, I didn't even know who Dave Cousins was back at the time. So I was just shooting against an American, and I came over for a competition, you know, but later on I realized that it was the Dave Cousins that I shot against, and that I won eventually against as well. So that was definitely like, because I didn't know who it was, it made it easier to shoot against him than if I knew who it was, for sure.
And is there anyone that makes you nervous these days?
Myself.
Just yourself?
Just yourself, yeah. Like, because the things that you make you nervous is just yourself, because you need to focus on yourself and not somebody else. Because if you shoot your best, like, you can win against everybody.
How do you make yourself nervous? Describe it to me.
Just a lot of stupid thoughts, like, did I prepare enough, or am I shooting good at the moment, or like, did I put everything I could into it and stuff like that. It's like a lot of stupid thoughts, but they're still happening, and I think everybody has it a little bit.
I think it's quite enlightening that you still have those thoughts despite what you've done, and I think everybody has those thoughts.
Yeah, and if you say, like, somebody says it doesn't have it, they're lying, because everybody has them, and everybody that shoots this kind of level always has like a moment of doubt that they like didn't put enough effort into it, or didn't put enough tuning in your bow, for example, or whatever. Like, you know that you weren't prepared 100% for the competition, but you still had the competition.
It must be quite difficult for you. I mean, you said you've missed competition, but all you're talking about is preparing for competition, and there isn't any competition at the moment.
No, that's really difficult for me, because for me, like, if I knew it was going to be like, I don't know, like 10 September is going to be the first competition, and I knew where to prepare to, or where to focus on. But for us, like, at this moment, is like, we don't know when it's going to happen, you know, like, and I think that's something that I really like. That's the most thing I hate at the moment, is just not knowing when it's going to start again, when to prepare for.
Do you think you could have approached this better, or dealt with this better?
Definitely. Like, in the beginning, I was really frustrated and disappointed and everything, and I was like, no motivation at all. Like, I was not even shooting my bow for like a month, I think. And but now I just should have shot my bow a little bit. Like, even though, like, maybe not my normal practice routine, but more just keep on focusing a little bit on your shooting, because now I need to grind up to my old level again. And if you shoot your bow like every day, like just maybe like 50 hours a day, is almost nothing. You still keep on the same level.
How many arrows a day do you need to shoot to improve and get back to that level?
I think it's really difficult to say, because I have no idea where I'm standing at the moment. And but I think if you like go back to like a week of training, like back to what my old rhythm is, I think the most thing that I need to work on is just my strength again, just to keep on. I think like it's like archery is like riding a bike. You never unlearn it. Like, you never forget it. So it's just more like getting back to the groove and back to the rhythm, kind of, I think.
It's rhythm and flow. Okay, so we're gonna finish this off by talking about a couple of tips you're going to give to a young archer, a guy who's been shooting a little while who wants to get to that next level. We've talked a lot about flow, about practice, about preparation. What's he going to do differently over the next 2 months to make sure that when he gets back on the competition field, he's better?
It's just like what I always did to prepare for this. Really gonna sound stupid, but when I was in my into preparing to competitions. Like you always had like if you go to like the World Archery site, you can see previous competitions. And you can see like the ranking of like the elimination matches as well. So I would shoot like a qualification score of like 60 hours indoors, and then I shoot like a 590 or 593, and I would be like placed qualification like 7th or 6th, and then I would shoot would be placed 7th in the bracket, and I would shoot my elimination matches like they were at that tournament. So that's something that you can get like a feeling for.
So you would see how you would finish if you just shot that level.
At that tournament.
So you're creating competition for yourself.
Exactly, and that's something that it's like a nice way to get easily have some competition feeling, kind of.
Do you get nervous when you're doing that?
Depends a bit. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like it depends a bit on how much pressure I put on myself, because sometimes it's like the most pressure that you put is on yourself, kind of.
No dinner for Mike unless he wins.
Yeah, I need to do the dishes if I lose and stuff like that.
It's a good deal, man.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to join this conversation. Much appreciated. Anything you'd like to say to the people out there before we cut it off?
Yeah, just stay strong and keep care of your family and your friends, and just keep shooting your bow as well if you can.
Nice one, Mikey. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for following this day along and this content. I hope you enjoy the rest of the Summer Summit.